Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here with us. As you know, we like to open up the room a little bit early to help you get settled, to download the PDF slides, which I will be dropping into the chat soon. We will get started several minutes after 10, and feel free to drop your name and agency in the chat if you would like. We don't keep track of who is in the room through our chat, so it's really just a friendly, hey, how you doing kind of moment. So we'll see you soon. Good morning for those of you just coming in to the webinar this morning. Thank you so much for being here. We will get started at just a few minutes after 10 to give you a moment to download the slides if you choose, to get comfortable, and you are welcome to add your name and agency to the chat as a friendly hello to everyone. Oh, hey Nika, thanks for your support. We'll get started soon. Good morning and welcome to those just entering the room. We will begin in just a few minutes. You can find a welcome message in the chat along with a copy of today's slides for your follow along, for those who like to follow along. Yeah, we'll begin shortly, 10:03. Thank you. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to CAS Assessor Training. Today, we get to finish up the series with the sixth in our six-part series. Today, we get to talk about Introduction to Conversational Case Management. For those of you new to SSF, my name is Jody. I am the Learning and Development Specialist here, and it is always an honor and a pleasure to get to share space with our community providers. I truly look forward to these moments to interact with you, to celebrate you, and elevate the work that you do in our community. I appreciate you taking the hour to sit with us and to potentially expand your capacity to help resolve homelessness. Today, our training will talk about the conversational case management skills. Sometimes these are often called motivational interviewing as well. So it's referred to back and forth. It is the same skill set. So today's presentation will be about 45 minutes or so, and then I will come back in and join the conversation about what comes next after this series ends. I know there'll be questions about the quiz and timing and all those good things, and I'll be here to support you throughout the process. Today's training will be, of course, recorded and closed captions, always available. We'll be sending out a link to the recorded material, hopefully before the end of this week. Please be sure to use the Q&A feature exclusively for your questions. Engage in the chat when invited to do so, and y'all know we love the emojis, so feel free to use those as well. I'll remind you when I see folks raise their hand on screen to use the Q&A feature exclusively for your questions so they do not get lost in the chat feature. And our learning agenda today will be how to apply conversational case management and some really helpful practices in your daily casework. You're going to learn key principles for motivational interviewing for impactful client engagement, and of course, identify core elements of housing problem solving steps to help clients rapid exit from homelessness. And with that, I get to turn this over to Monisha, who will introduce herself and take it from here. I'll see y'all in a bit.
Thanks, Jody. All right. Hi, you guys. I am Monisha, the case conferencing coordinator. I'm sure most of you hear my voice probably more than you would like to. And then I will be accompanied by my great friend, Daryl. So let's go ahead and jump in. All right. So let me catch my slides up so I can make sure I got my notes up here. All right. All right. So the importance of conversational case management. This case management approach is especially critical in understanding a client's housing needs and getting deeper than what an assessment alone can accomplish. Because as we all know, and I'm sure as many of you have been aware, that sometimes your clients will call in to 211 or they will get their assessments done elsewhere. And sometimes the assessments aren't accurately reflecting what you feel like the client's needs and vulnerabilities actually are. So it's really good just to kind of use this approach to get to know your client on a deeper level. Additionally, CAS assessors need to be skilled in listening and structuring housing plans that are responsive to a client's needs. With so few resources, it's critical that we explore alternative housing options, which can include exploring a household support system, such as friends and family, and understanding what programs and interventions may be or have been helpful and useful in the past for a client. I know that sometimes, like the questions, it's hard for clients to decipher which one or what answer they should give, just because not all answers really fit them, or not all questions fit them. And sometimes they end up just picking the best one. And again, that sometimes doesn't accurately reflect exactly what their needs are. So, as caseworkers, I do know that we do rely on the assessments, but clients sometimes don't always know how to answer those questions accurately. And sometimes they don't want to answer them honestly because they're like, "Who are you?" And you're asking me all these questions. I don't know you, and you want my personal information. So, we have to be mindful of that, not because they're trying to be difficult, but just because they fully may not understand the question or just don't trust who they're speaking to at that time. Next slide, please. All right. So, conversational case management is a client focused collaborative approach to case management that uses purposeful trauma informed dialogue to explore and address the needs, goals, and challenges of individuals seeking support. A dynamic process that uses active listening, engaging clients with open ended, not yes or no questions, asking thought inspiring questions, and guiding discussions to empower clients to identify their personal strengths, set achievable goals, and develop solutions to overcome their barriers. This method emphasizes building trust and rapport through open and non judgmental communication. And then next slide. All right. And so motivational interviewing. So I like to think of motivational interviewing as kind of like the art of guiding change. Have you ever wanted something for someone more than they actually wanted that for themselves? Maybe a client needs housing but won't fill out an application, or they're missing their appointments with you, or someone who says, they want something so badly, but in your eyes, it's not looking like they're trying to move forward, because a lot of times we don't understand the barriers that those clients are facing every single day and every single night, especially the ones that are actively sleeping outside. So today I want to try to break down what motivational interviewing is, why it works, and how to use it effectively. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so, please drop in the chat, rate on a scale of 1 to 5 the importance of knowing your paperwork. And if anybody in the chat puts a 1, we're going to have some personal time with each other. Okay, I see some 5s. I'm loving this. Okay, good. Oh, 5 times 10. They coming in too quick. I can't read them, but I saw 5 times 10 and that made my heart happy.
All fives, all fives.
Good. I'm like, y'all knew better than to put them 1s in there. I would have lost it. All right. Awesome. Next slide. Oh, okay. All right. And then what exactly is motivational interviewing? So its importance, it gives control to the clients, providing them an opportunity to self-govern, which is so important because a lot of clients, their voices have not been heard, or maybe they felt like their voices haven't been heard in such a long time. So to give them that opportunity can be so empowering for them. It creates connection with your client by creating brave spaces without judgment. It gives them dignity, which is so important in an otherwise challenging moment in their lives. The 4 guiding principles of motivational interviewing is to 1, engage. This includes building trust and rapport through engagement, focusing on working together and setting goals, and exploring how to help them uncover their own reasons for change. That is so important because once a client understands why they want to change and the purpose of their change, excuse me, they're more than likely to stay on that path. You don't want to be forcing a client to change reasons for reasons that you want them to. You want them to be able to uncover their own reason to want to change. And then planning, partnering with them, not for them. Next slide. All right. And skills to use. So, motivational interviewing, strength based approach. Um, so, it's thorough, active listening, identifying what worked in their life and their history, supporting them to identify personal values and needs, empowering autonomy. Autonomy, goodness, y'all, with client-led decision making, guide conversations with clients instead of directing them, practice empathy. Empathy, of course, equalizes, sympathy separates. And then practice active listening and asking open-ended questions. You guys are going to get so sick of me talking about open and closed-ended questions, I promise you. Next slide, please. All right, so practical tips. It is always best to, of course, listen more and talk less. A lot of these people, they don't necessarily want your opinion on everything, or they don't want to feel like they're constantly being criticized or critiqued because of decisions that they're making or have made. Just give them that space to be heard and be able to just sometimes let all of those emotions out to you. And you would be shocked at how much a client will tell you just by listening to them. Know your paperwork, that's super important, and engage in the conversations. Use open-ended questions. Affirm their strengths through active listening. Reflect what you hear in your own words so that the client feels seen and heard. This also gives the client a moment to refine and see it from a different perspective. And next slide. All right. And this is going to be a video that we're going to play for you guys. First of all, I love this video. It is one of my favorite active listening videos ever. So I will let you guys listen to it and then we will discuss.
Hey there. Welcome to our guide on mastering active listening for managers. Effective communication is key in today's fast-paced world, and active listening plays a huge role. So let's dive in. Active listening isn't just about hearing words, it's about truly understanding the message. Imagine this. Have you ever had a conversation where someone nods along but seems totally disconnected? That's not active listening. Here are some key points to understand it better. Engagement. It's about being fully present in the moment, focusing not only on the words, but also on the tone, body language, and emotions behind them. Empathy. It involves putting yourself in the speaker's shoes, trying to grasp their perspective, feelings, and intentions. Response. It's not just about being quiet, it's about responding appropriately, showing that you've understood and validated what was said. Now, let's break down 7 essential techniques that managers can use to master active listening. Understanding the purpose of communication. Ever wondered why someone's telling you something? Understanding the underlying purpose helps you grasp the core message better. It's like deciphering the real why behind the what. Paying attention and really listening. We all have those moments when our mind wanders off mid-conversation, right? But active listening means giving your undivided attention, soaking in every word and responding thoughtfully. Being open to learning. Have you ever found yourself thinking, I already know this? But what if there's something new to learn, a fresh perspective to gain? Being open-minded fosters better understanding and collaboration. Being patient and avoiding interrupting. It's tempting to jump in with our thoughts or solutions, but patience is key. Let the speaker finish their train of thought before chiming in. Trust me, it makes a world of difference. Not taking ownership of the conversation. As managers, it's easy to slip into a mode of control, steering the conversation where we want it to go. But active listening means letting the speaker lead, respecting their autonomy, and not hijacking the dialogue. Offer genuine feedback after active listening. Ever felt like your words were lost in the void? Providing meaningful feedback shows that you've genuinely listened and valued what was said. It could be a simple reflection, summary, or follow-up action. Thank the person for their communication. Gratitude goes a long way. It's about acknowledging the effort and vulnerability it takes to open up. A sincere thank you can foster trust, respect, and deeper connections. So there you have it, folks. Active listening isn't just a skill. It's an art that can transform relationships, boost productivity, and drive success. By mastering these techniques, we can become better managers, communicators, and leaders. So, let's put them into practice and see the magic unfold with Risley's free app.
All right. Then next slide, please. All right, so how many of you were actively listening, and how many of the 7 techniques did you get to catch in that video? Let's see, let me get my chat up so I could be nosy. Now, Jonathan, you didn't hear 7? I'm gonna have to talk to you at the next meeting. Jamila, for clarifying that you were listening. Okay, some people missed one of them.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in on this. Like, I think I've watched this video at least 7 different times and have been involved in this active listening project for numerous times in my career. I still did not hear 7, and I was all super focused, hyper focused. So those of you that caught more than 3, I celebrate you for sure.
Not more than 3, Jody. Jody is setting the bar extremely low.
That's why I do what I do and you do what you do.
Not Tony, talk about throw me away. No. All right. And then next slide. Okay, so the 7 active listening techniques is 1, the purpose of communication, understanding why we communicate. And when we communicate with clients, it's just not about collecting information, but it's also about trying to understand their story, their why, and what matters to them, and why they do some of the things that they do. That's where a lot of real insight can begin with clients. Oh yeah, Kathy, good one. Seek to understand. Yes. And then also paying attention. This one can sound simple, but it is sometimes very difficult to pay attention. We are all human beings ourselves, and we all have our own personal, I don't want to say problems, but we all have personal stuff that we're dealing with in life. And sometimes it's hard not to bring, work home and home to work. And so sometimes you're trying to be present and fully listening, but you have other things that are on your mind, other clients maybe, but it is just so important to be fully present with that client that you are in front of. That sometimes means just putting down your phone, even sometimes people who, providers who take notes while their client is talking, even sometimes just putting everything down and just silencing any checklist that you're trying to go through in your head while you're talking to the client, and just actually listen to them and have a conversation with them as if you are having a conversation with, just any other person in your life, and not just waiting for your turn to speak. Be open to learning. Every client has something to teach us. So drop all of the assumptions that you may have. Go into a situation being more curious than overthinking something. And just kind of let them know, I don't know everything about you, but we're going to find out together. And sometimes the client doesn't even know everything about themselves. And that's kind of what makes the journey fun. You're trying to learn about them, and sometimes they're trying to find themselves again. And being patient and avoid interrupting. Give them the time to find their words. Silence might feel uncomfortable, but silence often brings good stuff to the surface of a person. So don't rush a conversation with a client. And just respect them and let the speaker lead. Let the client kind of guide the flow and let them tell their story, because it's theirs. It's not ours to define. When we let them kind of lead the conversation, they are more likely to probably open up a lot more and share and be a lot more honest with us. All right. And then next slide. All right. And then, oh wait, I was gonna say, we missed my favorite video. I was gonna be like, Jody, don't do that. Okay, this is my favorite video ever, you guys. I love watching this. I could watch this all day. Okay, we will go ahead and...
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, you climb down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no. You want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. And we do it all the time, because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
I love that last about connection. That always like really gets to me, makes my heart feel good. All right. And then next slide. Oh, all right, Daryl, I'm gonna popcorn it over to you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Daryl Rogers. I am one of the housing problem solvers here that contracts out with SSF. Previously, we just talked about some very important slides: empathy versus sympathy, purpose of the communication, being open to learning, and body language and role plays a very big part in that. I know that if I was being assessed and or having a conversation, I wouldn't want to have a conversation with anyone that was preoccupied, had their arms crossed, and not paying attention to me. So it's very important to be relaxed. Don't put the desk between you and the person. Make sure you're in a private, quiet space. Um, be open. Check your body language. No judgment. Why? I think you should. Lean towards, engage them, and reinforce the skills, eye contact, acknowledgement, and appropriate contact, and follow their cues. Along with following their cues, that would also go along with having some sort of cultural sensitivity, being aware that if you're a man interviewing a woman, you might want to give a little space, keep the door open, just being open to cues that will allow for the client to give a story, and you might be able to get a lot more information that way, and they might feel a little safer in order to do so. Previously, they talked about knowing your paperwork. I think that goes hand in hand with this slide. If you know your paperwork and you're interviewing someone, if you know your paperwork and you're willing and you're using all these body roll language techniques, it'll allow the client to be more open to tell their story versus you writing the whole time. So yeah. Next slide, please. Housing problem solving. Next slide, please. Um, the core principles to housing problem solving: person-centered, client-led, identifying strengths by active listening, community as a support option, offer short options to divert homelessness, housing-centered conversation, and light touch assistance. Next slide, please. Housing problem solving steps. There are 5 steps to housing problem solving, and I have been doing housing problem solving trainings for the last 2 weeks, so please forgive me if I seem a little Short. Introductions. Introductions to housing problem solving are very, very important. Asking the client if this is a good time to even have this conversation is very key. Um, Asking the client if they're hungry, if they're tired, all of those things will assure for better information if it's a good time, if they're not hungry or preoccupied or have other things on their mind. I think that introduction and allowing the person, what we've learned in housing problem solving is that allowing the client to retain their power in an introduction is very key and very important. The next step, please. Active and empathetic listening. We are going to go over that over and over again. Active and empathetic listening will allow you a few benefits as an assessor. If you're actively and empathetically listening, you will get information that you're not asking for. You will find out skills and strengths, which is, I'm pretty sure, the next step that they have that you can utilize to better formulate a housing plan if you're active and empathetically listening. Exploring strengths and networks and skills. That comes along, as stated, with active and empathetic listening. Exploring strengths and networks. We in housing problem solving, we watch a video where this technique is uh, illustrated in real time. And what we've learned during that video is that when you explore the strengths and networks, um, the simple things, and this goes back to allowing the client to tell their story, you will find that they have strengths, networks, and skills that they previously didn't realize. Say, for instance, if it's a family that is sleeping in their car and using Planet Fitness to shower. Um, what we learn is that one, they're very resourceful. We also learned that there might be a couple of strengths and networks built into just going to that Planet Fitness every day, and knowing people. There might be strengths and networks that can be explored. Next step: short and long-term housing goals. By utilizing introduction, active and empathetic listening, exploring strengths and networks and skills, figuring out what those short and long term housing goals look like, become a lot less intimidating. Allowing the client to tell their story and retain their power. Is very beneficial to successful housing. I'll share a story with you about that exploring short and long-term housing goals. I When I was experiencing homelessness and I went through the system, they tried to put me in a house in a neighborhood where I didn't really do so good at. That's where all my friends were. That's where I always got in trouble, and they kept trying to, tell me that that was a good space for me to be at. Not only was it me, I was with my three children that I had just got full custody of. Luckily, one of my coordinators that I was working with at the time understood my story, but she only understood my story because she was active and empathetically listening to me the whole time. She had explored my strengths, my networks, and my skills, and also that came with that those things that I need to work on. And so, to date, I've been successfully housed for a very long time and done some amazing things because someone utilized this. Next step, please. Next steps and follow up. Next steps and follow up would pretty much entail a warm handoff, uh, and going over those things that you worked on and not promising more than you can deliver. I think that's very important.
Yes.
Next slide, please.
Thank you, Daryl.
Thank you, Monisha.
No worries. All right. So I told y'all were gonna get sick of me talking about open and closed-ended questions. So we're gonna dive into that a little bit. So what are open-ended questions? They are questions that cannot be answered with yes, no, or basically one word answers. We can learn so much when they just share, including how they felt about something. Topics we are inviting people to discuss is, could you please tell me more? Or can you share a time when? Or what steps? Or how do you feel? It gives us the opportunity to express empathy as well. So the magic of open-ended questions is really unlocking real conversations. Imagine talking to your client and you ask, do you need help? And most clients, sometimes they shrug and they'll say like, yeah or no. And then the conversation is over because, you really didn't ask anything else for them to give any other clarifying information. Especially if they say, no, I'm fine. I'm like, that really just, oh my gosh, I hate it when I hear that because they really probably aren't fine, but they don't know how to continue the conversation on because you asked them just a very simple, vague type of question. So now if you would have asked them, what has been the hardest part of your situation lately? Now, see, suddenly now it's not a yes or no. Now they have to think. And sometimes that can take people off guard, like, whoa, what is she talking about? What is the hardest part of my situation? But it gives them the opportunity to share. And that again is what unleashes real conversations. And that is the power of open-ended questions in case management. It takes us beyond just a simple yes or no, and it actually dives us into real stories, the struggles and the strengths that clients have. And when we ask the right questions, we help clients feel heard, understood, and most importantly, empowered to take action, even sometimes on their own. So let's dive into why open-ended questions matter and how they change the way we connect with clients and how you can learn to ask them like a pro. Next slide, please. All right. So some of the closed-ended questions would be, do you have a place to stay tonight? That's a very vague no. More than likely the answer is no. An open-ended question to that would be, can you please tell me about your current housing situation? So now it kind of, again, they have to think and try to figure out how they need to respond to that. Do you have any friends or family who can help you? Again, that's either a yes or a no. Instead, try asking who in your life has been supportive to you when you faced your challenges. Understanding housing barriers, which is really important. Of course, we all know housing is the most important thing that a client thinks about constantly. And I feel like those are the questions that they get asked the most. And this particular question is always asked the most. Are you able to afford rent? Like most clients, it doesn't really give you enough information to determine if a client really is able to afford rent, because people will answer yes and have no income. So it's like, how are you able to afford rent without the income? To dive deeper into that topic, you would ask, what challenges have you faced in securing stable housing? Another closed-ended question is, have you tried looking for a roommate? Most people are going to say, no, I don't want to live with anybody. An open-ended question would be, what are some ways that you could think to find a stable place to stay? And then, have you ever lived on your own before? Instead, try asking, what was your past situation like and what worked well for you? Another one is, would you be open to mediation with your landlord? This is good for clients who maybe be facing eviction, or maybe they have a landlord who wants them out because maybe they've just gone behind in their rent too often. But try an open-ended question like, what options have you considered to improve your housing situation? So shifting from those closed to open-ended questions really encourages deeper conversation and the empowerment that a client needs, and the collaborative to be able to help them problem solve, which are all key principles to housing problem solving. And then next slide, please. And then Daryl, friend, do you want to try this one? I feel like you would be good at this, maybe asking the group, how do you rephrase these questions to make them open-ended? I don't know if Daryl, he might have stepped away. But one question I feel
I'm
that,
here.
oh, you got it? Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
I would like you to do it. 'Cause I'm looking at these.
One question that could be phrased is, and before I phrase the question, I want to say that what housing looked like previously is usually what housing will look like again, right? And by opening those questions up, it allows, like Monisha said, the client to tell a story where they may be able to problem solve on their own. That's where the power is. Having someone partner with you in that process is even better. So, one of the questions that we came up with to ask you all, how would you make it an open ended question, is have you ever lived on your own before? Do you want both questions posed at this time, Monisha?
Yeah, or maybe just start with that one, and then maybe people can answer in the chat how
Okay.
they feel like that question would go with the client.
Right. Okay. So what we're posing to you, and you can answer the question in the chat, is with the question: have you ever lived on your own before? How can you pose that question as an open ended? Ooh, I see some good answers already.
Yes, I like that. Tell me about your past living. Yeah, tell me about a time you lived on your own. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another one too that I feel people really struggle with sometimes to ask clients, because it's it's those uncomfortable conversations that are difficult a lot of times, especially for people who are just kind of starting and getting into this line of work. Asking a client like really personal questions can be kind of like nerve-wracking for people. And one question that I feel gets asked a lot that is very closed-ended is do you struggle with substance use or alcohol? That's very kind of vague and very closed in. And a lot of clients will say either no. Some people will be honest with you and say yes. But I feel like really kind of asking them, like, what role has alcohol and drugs, if any, ever played in your life, in your day-to-day life? So it gives them a chance to really, you're not asking them what their choice is. You're just asking them how, if it has it ever affected you, and is it currently still affecting you today? Just so that you are not insulting them, you're not assuming that they are, but you are asking because you're trying to figure out a way to help them in the right way. Oh yeah, I like that. Somebody,
Monisha, can I add to that?
yes,
And thank you for bringing that up. It's very vague and it's very insensitive, and there's not a lot of empathy and sympathy or that question. I think if you allow that question to be asked with, well, if you have any struggles, tell me about them,
yeah,
right? That opens the door for the client to retain the power. Is this a question that I even want to ask with you, right? Because you might not be qualified to even answer some of the questions. When you ask the question, you might not even be qualified to answer some of the answers that are gonna come at you, right? And so allowing and imposing that as an open-ended question, it does a number of things. It assists in the housing plan. It makes the client feel heard. There's a number of things that come along with that question, and there's a number of retention of power that facilitates trust, openness, just all five steps built up in one. So thank you for that.
yeah. Can you think of any other ones, Daryl? Like, what about another one I think that is asked a lot, but is also sometimes asked as a closed-ended question is, do you take medication? And a lot of times, and that goes back to, again, some clients don't want to answer that question. Some clients will be like, that's none of your business if I take medication or not. But sometimes just rephrasing even just that question or even just saying, maybe not even asking what medication do you take, or do you take medication? Maybe just saying, what does managing your health look like on a typical day? That will allow them to say, oh, well, I take this daily, or I have to wrap my knee up because I got a bad knee. I promise you, they'll start spilling out information, just exactly what you need to know.
Not only that, there's strengths and networks in that as well, right? There's a person that maybe takes them to the doctor. They might have an in-home care worker. There is a wealth of information that comes along by asking open-ended questions.
Yes. Awesome. Well, I guess we can go to the next slide. You gave some good examples of that. Hopefully that was helpful. All right. And then conversational case management. Oh, let me close had the chat open so I could see everybody's answers. Bring that. Okay. So it is a client-focused collaborative approach to case management that uses purposeful trauma-informed dialogue to explore and address the needs, goals, and challenges of individuals seeking support. And a dynamic process that uses active listening, engaging clients with open-ended, remember, not yes or no questions, asking thought-inspiring questions, and guiding discussions to empower clients to identify their personal strengths, set achievable goals, and develop solutions to overcome their barriers. This method emphasizes building trust and rapport through open and non-judgmental communication. All right.
It's me, I'm back. That was fantastic. Monisha and Daryl, thank you so much, as always. A fantastic content and a fantastic team. I appreciate you both.
No worries.
Yeah, so as mentioned, I am going to walk through what comes next now. It's been 6-week series is complete at this point, and I do want to remind folks that in order to be a CAS assessor and have access to the assessments, you need to make sure that you have access to HMIS. So we repeat that periodically throughout the training series, so I will reiterate this. If you already have access to HMIS, then you really are just focused on the second step, which we'll get to. If you do not have HMIS access at this point, and you work with an agency that you need HMIS access, you will want to create an agency request. You will find all of the HMIS brilliant resources and job aids and the open office hours, everything on our website under HMIS. You'll get the request form there. You'll also find the updated training videos and additional documents. They have their timelines listed. Everything's very, very clear there. Our updates to our website has been really helpful in bringing some clarity to sometimes the unclear. So the HMIS, you can find that on our website. Make sure you've got access. If you have access already, we go right to step 2. And you have completed all of these trainings. Congratulations, you're all done. So what comes next for you is to complete an onboarding form. Then you'll complete a user agreement. So the onboarding form, these are all automated, by the way. These are automated forms that you'll fill out, and they will go to an agency supervisor for signature and to trigger the next step. So the onboarding form is the first step. The second step is the user agreement. Then you will be emailed a link with the CAS Assessor quiz. You won't find the CAS Assessor quiz anywhere on our website. Y'all can't email me asking for the link, because I'll send you right back to, did you complete the user agreement? Right? So you will get this, again, it's automated, after you complete the user agreement, and there's been a supervisor signature, yes, this provider is good to go, let's move forward, you'll get the automated link to the CAS Assessor quiz. You'll have probably 3 times to pass it, and I will remind you that you have a copy that I will say this again. There is a copy that exists on our website of every training video and all the presentation materials. There are no surprise questions. This is true, false, and it generally should take less than 40 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. There's only 33 questions on there at last I checked, and you will have ample time to complete this. So if you have not attended all the trainings, it's okay. This content is recorded specifically for that reason. So once you've completed the quiz, you will receive a congratulatory email, and you will have access to the HMIS program and the assessments within it. And that HMIS program is called CAS Agency, and that is it. It's that simple. So with that, we'll open it up to any questions, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that our wonderful presenters can be seen fully.
I'm off camera right now dealing with my animal. He's acting up, so forgive me.
That's okay. We know you're here with us, Daryl. Thank you.
That's why my screen is blanked out, because I've got cats fighting in the background.
Oh, okay. I love this question, y'all. We noticed the CAS training session 5 slides have not yet been uploaded to the website. Yes, week 5 was a pretty hectic one. We had housing problem solving that week, as well as week 5's training. So it should be up on the website before the end of the week. Thank you for asking. I appreciate it. The review material is under the Trainers Hub on our website. If you go to Trainers Hub, Provider Hub, I'm so sorry, Provider Hub on our website, and it's all updated, y'all. You're going to scroll down to required trainings, and you'll find CAS Assessor in that section. Just click on that. You'll scroll down and find all the videos and a link to presentation there as well. I hope that helps. I see you, Kevin. When will the new CAS course begin, since I have not attended them all? This is the final one for the year. And because everything has been recorded, you do have access to that, Kevin. So all those videos and all the presentation material after this week, will be available for everyone to view. So I do want to touch on, Melba, I see your hand raised, and you're very welcome, Kevin. I do want to remind folks that the CAS Assessor quiz will be live on September 30th and will close on December 16th. And that will give you ample time to review the material, to come back to the presentation materials, to take the quiz with the presentation materials on your computer. And those little yellow bookmarks that we added to all the materials are the quiz questions. So I hope that helps. All right. I see quite a few questions coming in. I'm on the new CAS. When will we get the user agreement? Will it be an email sent to us or in the HMIS system? That is such a great question. You're going to get a congratulations, thank you for attending, and it's going to have an automated link. This is not coming from HMIS. It will be coming from SAC Steps Forward. So I love that question. Thank you for asking, Pamela. You will get an email sent to you, yes, not through HMIS, but through SAC Steps Forward. Yeah. Do those who have CAS certification from this year, do we need to renew certification? The recertification window is open for people who certified in 2024. In 2026, the people who certified in 2025 will recertify then. And you're welcome. And that is it. I hope that answers it. That's all the questions at the moment in the chat. Now going back over to the Q&A. How do I find out what trainings I missed and where to review the material? Again, it's on our provider hub under CAS Assessor trainings. And I needed to complete my renewal. Okay, so there is an anonymous question. I got an email stating I need to complete my CAS renewal by 9/26/25. Please send me an email to trainings@sacsteps.org so I can help answer that better. I've got some clarifying questions I need to ask of you. And unfortunately, you're anonymous, so I can't ask you directly. All right. Thank you, Vivian, for dropping that in the chat. How often do we need to do the recertification? At the moment, that is being kind of reviewed, like what's really sustainable for providers, right? Like, I don't want to quote a time because it's being reviewed at the moment, but communication will be very clear when it is decided upon and what that looks like. Oh, good question, Leslie. Can my coworker watch the CAS videos and then be able to take the quiz? Yes. Yes. That's why we do all the wonderful things that we do.
Jody, there was a question that came in the chat that was a very good question. I don't know if you saw it or not. It was the question about changing providership and if they have to do it again.
No, I didn't see the question. Thank you, Daryl, for bringing that up. So if you certified in CAS this year and then you change providers, this is really about HMIS access, right? And because I don't know enough about the transfer, I have heard it in previous trainings that you don't have to do it all again. But there is some like, let's onboard you in this agency and let's make sure you're registered under this agency. And that is really about the clients getting access to programs as well to keep track of where you are within HMIS. Yeah. Yes, Amy, the training is over. Thanks for being here. Yeah. Oh, Elijah, hopefully we all cross paths in the field for sure. I thought this training was part of the recertification. Marie, you are correct. If you certified in 2024, this training was part of the recertification for 2025. Thanks for asking. I hope that clarifies. Oh, thank you. You're welcome. All right, y'all. If anyone has any additional questions, please feel free to send an email to trainings@sacstepsforward.org. And that is it.
All right, y'all.
Oh, wait, there's one more question. This one's good. Marilyn, I see you. I hope you're still with us. Are we getting certified for HMIS and CAS separately? That is correct. The step one was where I gave you an overview of where all the HMIS goodies are, the trainings and job aids. Their certification is completely separate from CAS certification. One is system, one is programs. Yeah, hope that helps.
And then Jenny needs the address again, the email address again, Jody.
Yeah, sure. Let me drop it in the chat. Thank you for asking. Let's make sure there's no typos. Y'all, if you work with me, you know I am famous for my typos. Like, you get a gold star if you find it. Sacstepsforward.org. There we go. All right. And that is it. No new questions in the Q&A. Thank you, thank you, thank you. appreciate everybody for being here. And y'all, thank you so much for the work you do in the community.
All right. Thanks, Luz. I see your comment too.
Yep.
Appreciate you.
All right.
All right,
Bye,
y'all.
everybody.
Bye.